Hello, I'm Joan Coulson, and I'm sitting here with Henriette, my friend in Bergen, Norway. Henriette, tell us your second name.
Fjellhaug.
We've been talking about Judy's work with people in need, be it servicemen who are in hospital having treatment, lost limbs, or handicapped children. And Judy began her interest in these children when she was in Peter Bingham Hospital in Boston in 1949, when they'd sent her there for therapy. And in one of the investigations to see whether there was something the matter with her brain, they sent her to the next hospital to have a brain scan. Well, while she was there, she heard these children's voices, and she asked if she could go and see them. And there were all sorts of children there with different degrees or different things the matter with them, maybe what we would call perhaps autism now, but that term wasn't used at that time. And she got very used to seeing the children because they reminded her of Liza, about the same age, and she used to go and talk to them and sing to them. And there was one child that she was particularly attached to who had never spoken. She was about 7 years old. And she would sit and listen and sing to her, and she would go back every day. And later she said, "These children made me well." And she had a big part of her life, her heart went to these children. Well, finally they think she's well enough and she's going back by train. And her agent said, "Well, it's time to go, and I will go over and say goodbye to the children." Well, the children knew that she was leaving, and they got flowers and they got dressed up in their prettiest clothes to say goodbye to her. And she went round saying goodbye. And this one little girl who had never spoken suddenly called out, "Judy, Judy, Judy, don't go, don't leave me." And she sat down with this child and talked to her because the child just started jabbering away. And Judy pulled the nurses over to help, to realize this child is now talking, keep talking to her. And her agent said, "It's time, we will miss the train." She said, "Let the train go, we will go on another train." And she stayed for several more hours until the child calmed down, and she eventually left. And this, I think, started her interest. She would go to visit children, crippled children. She donated a lot of times. She would do a benefit and donate all the proceeds. In Long Beach, that went, some of the concerts in London went to special needs children. And she would also go to, later in life, when she was doing concerts around the East Coast, if there was a veterans hospital nearby, she would go out and sing to the soldiers. This never got any publicity. She didn't want the publicity. She just wanted to help them. And Michelle Russell in Judy's festival in Grand Rapids has now got a whole wall devoted with photographs that John Fricke has donated, and some of my words in, to celebrating this aspect of her work that people don't know about. So I wanted Henriette to talk about this aspect and how it's helped her, being a child who had handicaps as she was growing up.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't have to tell anyone how hard it can be to have my kind of a challenge. I guess that's kind of obvious when you see me out and about in my wheelchair or on crutches. But what happened when I became a fan of her was that I discovered that I had a lot of suppressed emotions built up over the years from the time that I was being bullied when I was in school or mistreated at home because of my disability. And all of it came out, and I had no idea what to do with my reactions. It was, I don't know how to explain it. It was from some other world, and I had never had that many emotions going through me all at once, and I couldn't even remember the song I was listening to. All I know is it worked, and everything came out, and then I was good.
So Judy always said, "I sing to everybody individually."
Yeah.
I know that's ridiculous, but she said it several times, and I think she didn't sing to the audience. She meant her song to be individually,
yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of us feel.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense, but we feel.
It doesn't, but that's how you feel. I have one friend who has the same as me as well, and I played some of Judy's music to him once, and we played The Man That Got Away, one of my favorite songs, and we listened to it, I think, 3-4 times, and then I turned it off, and I said, okay, so what did you get from it? And he says, well, being a man, I kind of feel a bit sorry for the man because he was getting away. And I was like, well...
He left her.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I was like, well, he didn't get abandoned. She did. She was the one that was left. And so we had 2 completely different takes on this one song. We both heard the same song, but we had 2 completely different takes. And so as ridiculous as it sounds... there's a lot of truth in it, I think, because I could sit next to him or anyone else and play her music and cry my eyes out, cry my heart out, and they could sit there and laugh. And so for me, I feel like I can finally live up to those words that she said to Liza about being yourself. And I've never felt like I've been okay enough to be that before.
So now, having had Judy in your life and being able to listen to her music and her records, it's helped to stabilize you?
In a sense, yeah. I've gotten more of a sense of who I am and who I want to be. And I've understood that my having the disability that I have is not to be a definition of who I am. That even though someone has called me stupid, someone has called me a vegetable, someone has said I was retarded, by her, through her music and her movies and work in general, I've understood that that's just people's opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can agree to disagree.
Of
right?
course.
I don't have to listen to it.
You don't have to believe that that's what they said.
It. Yeah. And
she's giving you confidence.
Yeah. Confidence, and also she's... how can I say this nicely? She's taught me to not give a about what people
oh, yes, lovely. You don't care a damn what they think of you.
Right.
Anymore. You are you.
I am.
And you know that you're good enough and you're as good as anybody else, just the way you are.
Exactly.
Right. And that's quite an achievement.
Yeah.
And as I've said many times, I think Judy's influence will go on for 500 years, as long as we have any kind of similar Western civilization where music or her music is played. I think it's so marvellous when young people discover her, and I'm so happy to have met you.
I'm happy to meet you too, and I'm so grateful that you took the very long trip. Can't imagine how tired you must have been traveling that far. By the way, I'm saving up money to go to America, actually.
Oh, good.
I have someone over there that wants to meet me, and she said, well, can't you come here, then you can get a break from what's going on at home, and you can see other parts of the world. So I'm actually going to go there sometime in the future, hopefully. But yeah, I hope that our civilization won't die out, and that people will, in 500 years from now, still.
Yeah, I can't believe the number of young people that I've met them when they were 14, they're now 35, and they still love Judy, and it's...
Because when you become a fan of hers, then you become a fan of hers for life.
Yes, right.
Yeah. And she has said in interviews before that she feels like maybe there is some kind of a marriage between her and
voice
the audience.
And the audience, yes. Yes, because we've talked about that a lot. We never wanted the show to end.
Yeah.
We never wanted to go. She could have fallen asleep on the stage. We wouldn't have left.
Exactly.
And there is a connection. And in most theatres, I've seen a lot of plays in the last couple of weeks, to see a live performance is much better than anything on television.
Yeah.
So because you're actually in the presence of that person.
Exactly.
And to be in the presence of her, with her magnetism, was electric. It was...
I can imagine.
Once she was dancing
so
around...
lucky.
Yeah, but she was dancing around at the end during all this. She said, I'm so happy to be working for you today. And I thought, working? I'm in heaven, and you're working. But of course, You are working up there, working damned hard for 2 or 3 hours.
Exactly. It is a very tough job, and I think with her electricity and the way that she did it, it didn't seem that way.
And when you shook hands with her, the electricity went through you.
Right.
She no hand, and nobody like her.
Yeah. I was born in the wrong decade. I can say that for sure. And I've missed being able to have conversations like this about Judy Garland and
Finding somebody. I think that's the reason for joining a club or going in a group, because when Jan Glazier organised these functions, several I've been to, it's so nice to be with 20 or 30 people, and we all talk the same language. We all say lines out of the shows or lines from songs. We know we're all on the same wavelength.
Exactly.
It's electric to be with a group of people that are as nutty as you, and we're all on the same wavelength. So Jan, you better organise another do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you should come over and when we organise another do. Well, that's all for now. Thank you.